Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. This week we take another look at the Dirk Gently series. Before we start though, I feel that I have to address the television adaptation, which I did touch on in the credits of the first video. It was awesome. It wasn't just a straight up adaptation of the book. It borrowed things from it, but it generated its own plots and took a lot of the stupid boring stuff out that plagued the first one. I highly recommend checking it out, and you can find it on YouTube. So, let's get to it and review The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. The cover is better than the last one. Douglas Adams' books should never be judged by the cover because the covers are usually boring as hell. But the books are usually pretty good, and so is this cover. It has a tea set, and is that a Norse god? Well, this certainly seems interesting. So, let's get to the book itself. The novel begins in the most exciting place a book can start. An airport!
As you can tell from the gray speckled walls behind me, in a stunning turn of events, I have found myself in an airport.
A woman named Kate Schechter is going to Norway because reasons. In fact, it's not for the cool stuff like the fjords, but just reasons. But it seems like God doesn't want her to go there because everything has been going wrong. Kate, despite being in England, is actually an American, a New Yorker in fact. She lost her husband in a taxi-hailing accident, and it being New York, I assume it went like this. Taxi! She's sad because apparently they don't deliver pizza in England, which, as it is an older book, might not be true anymore. If an English person wants to clear that up for me, that would be cool, but really? Not delivering pizza? That's just kind of weird. She gets to the airport and a large man is blocking her way because he wants a plane ticket but has no money or a passport. She gives up and starts to walk away, and then the checkout desk spontaneously explodes, and she's covered with rubble. But don't worry, she's alive. But I'm sure Tegan was very happy that she got fired. No one can find the cause of the explosion, so they just decide that the desk blew up because of an act of God. Not that act of God! Also, it's a bit of foreshadowing for later in the book. Kate, meanwhile, is unconscious for a few days after the explosion, because that's what happens when you are in an explosion. You tend to be unconscious. Kate realizes that she's alright upon her waking up, and faints after seeing a weird vending machine. If you couldn't already tell, this was much like the last book, where we don't immediately start off with the title character, although we meet him much faster this time. Now we meet Gently at his house. He's having a feud with his cleaning lady about the fridge being cleaned out, as they both refuse to do it. This is actually put into the TV show as a subplot in an episode. He goes to the fridge to see if she cleaned it, and she didn't, because it's nasty in there. Dirk decides to go check on a client and uses a method of Zen navigation. It entails following someone who looks like they know where they're going. He finally arrives at the client's house, only to see it surrounded by police cars and ambulances. The client, Anstey, is found in a sealed and heavy barricaded room. His head removed several feet from his body and rotating on a turntable that is playing Don't Pick It Up, Pick It Up, Pick It, which sounds vaguely familiar to Dirk. The cops ruled it as a suicide, but Dirk knows differently. While at Anstey's house, he discovers that Anstey had a son. However, after Dirk disconnects the television set the boy had been watching, the boy promptly breaks his nose. Dirk stumbles out and goes to get some food. He stops at a cafe where he steals a woman's coffee when she wasn't looking. Oh, and Odin is in a hospital. Yeah, the Norse god Odin. Kate is discharged and still can't get pizza delivery. Oh, and the big guy from the checkout counter? Yeah, he was Thor. Not that Thor. This is more like the Norse legend Thor. Odin wanted him to be unable to get back to Norway for whatever reason and has him glued to a floor. Also, an interesting bit of irony, is that the checkout desk blew up because of Thor, and thus is actually an act of God. A really dumb act of God, but an act of God nonetheless. Dirk then goes to get a new fridge and finds the woman whose coffee he stole at his table. The girl then proceeds to straighten his broken nose. Dirk's Zen navigation brings both him and Kate together. Meanwhile, Thor goes for help looking for the one person in the past few days who has been kind to him, Kate, who gave him his address shortly before the explosion. Kate is on the trail of Thor because she wants to know what the hell happened at the airport. This helps Dirk, who has been being harassed by an eagle, begin to piece together the puzzle, and has uncovered the possibility that Odin, ancient father of the Norse gods, is still alive, no longer worshipped by millions, but ignored and left deaf to it, and lately persuaded by the unsavory goblin Torag to trade his immortality for the comforts of a warm bed and 24-hour nursing care at the Woodshed Clinic. Odin has fallen into the hands of the Dracotts, an unscrupulous advertising executive and her husband who plan to use their new immortality and godlike powers without let or hindrance. Thor doesn't want this to happen, so he escapes the glue and goes to Kate's house. Thor waits for Kate to arrive home and help him get the bits of floorboard off his back. Meanwhile, Dirk returns home to A. crash into the Dracotts' car in a less successful bit of Zen navigation, and find his new nemesis waiting on the doorstep, the eagle that has been attacking him. The feasting hall of Valhalla, not that Valhalla, is filling up with the ancient Norse gods for the challenging hour. Thor has accused his father of betraying their people. Only Dirk Gently, it seems, is in a position to put together the facts that will prove that the sinister goblin has tricked Odin into selling his immortal soul. As Dirk struggles to evict a particularly vicious and enormous eagle from his front hallway, and Kate attempts to get a drink out of the vending machine, which turns out to be the woman at the counter at the airport, who actually is Dirk's ex-secretary. Thor takes his first bath in several centuries, to the relief of Kate. But time is ticking away, and the Dracotts are using their godlike powers to manipulate people to do their will. Dirk escapes the eagle in his house to find a vagrant outside who babbles strangely of Valhalla and St. Pancras, as if they were the same place. Dirk accompanies the vagrant to St. Pancras, where a city of bums is gathered. As Kate and Thor depart by hammer on a mission to thwart the Dracotts, Dirk watches the sinister Simon and Cynthia arrive at a suddenly deserted St. Pancras. Following their footsteps, Dirk succeeds in slipping behind a molecule, finding the portal that transforms St. Pancras and the world of men into the feasting hall of Valhalla. Thor and Kate fly through the skies over Asgard to consult the charming if suicidal Sulaweensis as to how best proceed in their attempt. Dirk must stop the Dracotts from exercising the hidden clause in their agreement that will give them their godlike powers forever, and Dirk be reunited with Janus. The result involves Thor losing his temper and getting it back again, the mysterious eagle that has plagued everybody finally being restored to its proper form, Dirk's cleaning lady, who is much more influential in Asgard, if she ever was as a cleaning lady, Dirk having an uncomfortable encounter with a motorcycle and a cat that results in him waking up and reading his horoscope, which tells him that it's a good day to enjoy home comforts, and he decides to check to see if there's any interesting news. And that, my friends, was The Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. Was it better than the first one? Yes, but only just. I admit, I was able to finish reading this one. The first one, I just couldn't finish it, and I kind of had to look up a summary online. But this one, it was good. So, next week we'll do something else, I hope. Following their footsteps, he succeeds in slipping behind a molecule